In this video, we will listen to an interview with Kim Martin Hasson, currently General Manager in Frölunda Hockey Club. Before we start the interview, it is important to provide some background on Kim and her achievements. Kim is a highly respected figure in hockey. From her early days as a junior goaltender for AIK to her current role as the General Manager for Frölunda HC's women's team, Kim's career has spanned both the ice and leadership roles. Kim's achievements include an extensive career with the Swedish national women's hockey team, Damkronorna, where she played 244 games and contributed to multiple international medals. She was part of the team that earned bronze at the 2002 and 2006 World Championships and silver at the 2006 Olympics. Her career has been recognized through various honors, including being named the greatest women's goaltender in Swedish hockey history during the Swedish Ice Hockey Federation's celebration. After retiring as a player, Kim transitioned into leadership positions, starting as a general manager for Linköping HC and now with Frölunda HC, where she is leading the women's hockey team. In the interview, we will, among many things, hear about what the general manager role is all about and the recruiting of a great coaching team and high-performing hockey players. When we get into the interview host is just about to welcome Kim.
Okay, welcome Kim to this interview. We will do this interview as part of the course Digital Innovation in Sports, and we will talk about hockey and so on. But tell us a bit, Kim, who are you and the team that you are responsible for? Who are they?
So I'm Kim. I'm 30. I'm gonna turn 39 this year. I have two kids and a husband. I played hockey mostly my entire life. I stopped playing 10 years ago and ended up being the GM for Linköping back then. But now I am the GM for Frölunda's women's team, and we started the whole process with having a women's team in Frölunda 3 years ago. So it's very new and a lot that we want to build and make progress, but we have had a good start.
Yeah, sounds fantastic. And you mentioned your role now as a GM, that is General Manager, is that correct?
Yes.
What is that all about? What does a general manager do?
I would say the most important is to sign players, make sure the players are having a good time and feel like they develop here, but also hire the coaching staff and make sure everything works for them. But then I'm doing all kinds of small things as well with booking hotel and trips and making sure that everything that's around the team works and the players and the coaching staff can focus on the actual sport.
Okay, so it's both very practical aspects and also the long-term strategic issues. Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. But how has that role been evolved over time? Has it shifted or what is happening?
I would say as women's hockey grows, it's more laws and rules that you have to follow, and it's a little more complicated now than maybe a few years ago. The salaries are getting higher. I mean, there's more focus on the players, more focus on the team. So I have to make sure that everything is correct. But also there's more players that are playing hockey, so there's more players to watch and scout them and make sure that we're taking the players that we really want and would fit in the team. So it's definitely more demand on the players and the coaching staff and me.
Yeah, yeah. And you also mentioned this thing that I'm not sure that everyone understands, that it's also about it's about recruiting good hockey players, but also bring together a great coaching team. So
I mean,
how do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's also with the players. You can find a really good player, but it maybe doesn't match with the values that you have in the club and what we want to achieve. So sometimes you pick a less good hockey player because it fits better in our environment, and that's the same with the coaching staff. we really want the coaching staff and players to follow the values that Frölunda has and want to believe in the same that we do and can fit into our framework. So it's really important to know the person and the character they have, and get to know the people as well.
Okay, but when you talk about values, is it the values that you have while you're playing on ice, or is it values outside of the
I would say both. I
both?
think it's
Okay.
very important that you are a good person outside of the hockey. You have to be a good teammate. You have to be able to work in a group, and it's not always about you, it's about the team. And then obviously every individual is important because we want them to develop, but it's the team first. So you need a player that can be in a group. And
Yeah.
actually, sometimes you're not playing, sometimes you are. So we look a lot into how the person is and the reference from other coaches and teammates that have played with this player, for example. So um, the values that we have in Frölunda is the same from men, women, youth, seniors. So
Mm.
it's the same values throughout the whole club.
Okay, but when you're trying to bring together a great coaching team and so on, what qualities are important among the coaches, and which roles do we talk about when we talk about a coaching team?
Yeah, I mean we have a pretty big coaching staff, but I would say mostly it's the head coach, the assistant coach, goalie coach, equipment manager, and the off ice coach. So
Mm.
those are the core ones, but we also have a mental coach, we have a doctor, a physio, and everything that we need. But I would say the most important is the same, like they can work in a group. I look a lot at the leadership, not so much of what they actually know. I think the most important thing is to have a group of people and make them go the same way, like they want the same things. It's important that we all have the same goal. Then it's obviously the knowledge is also important, but I would say the leadership among my coaches is the most
Mm.
important. And if we have a great chemistry in our coaching staff, I think that makes the team look at us being strong, and then the team takes after us.
Okay. Yeah, so you are basically the leaders in
Yes.
many ways. Yeah, yeah. Role models also for the players. That's interesting. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, when we talk about the hockey players, many of us have seen, and I mean, you are recruiting hockey players, and many of us have seen the movie Moneyball with Brad Pitt and how he's working with lots of scouts and so on. And that is baseball, and that was a Hollywood movie as well, but a good book in essence. How does it work in the female hockey league in Sweden with scouts and recruiting? Tell us a bit about that.
It's definitely more agents nowadays than it was maybe a couple years ago. It's still very, very new. So I would say maybe 4 players in the team that have agents, but I think it feels like it's getting more and more popular, which actually makes my job easier because most of the time the player don't know what they
Hmm.
should, like how much they cost, or it's hard for them to negotiate. So sometimes leaving the player aside and I can focus on the agent and actually talk what I think about the player
Mm.
easier than actually talking to the player myself.
Yeah.
So I think it's easier. I know on the men's side, the agent it's very like on and asking questions and demanding during the season. But
Mm.
with the female, or like the agents that my players have, is they kind of just negotiate and then they don't say anything else during the whole season. So it's a pretty nice process for me. But there are not a lot of scouts. I mean, I do everything by myself. We don't have scouts
Mm.
that helps us recruiting. So It's a lot of video. I don't normally travel a lot. I go to Worlds. I was at the U18 Worlds now, and I'm gonna go watch the Olympic qualification. So it's a little bit of traveling, but not as much as the men.
Okay, yeah. So it's so video and yeah, video of
Yeah,
different games and so on is important material basically.
yeah.
Wow, yeah. But I mean, how do you evaluate a hockey player? What type of criteria are important? I mean, despite being
Yeah,
a good person, as you said.
yeah. No, it is hard. It's sometimes you have a great hockey player, but then it comes to your environment and they don't play
Mm,
good. So you never
yeah,
know how good they're going to be in your environment, if they fit, if they have the chemistry with their line mates, or
yeah.
just doesn't click. So
Mm,
it's most of the time a guessing game what you think and your guts of would this player actually work in our team. Um, but I've been in the game so long now, so I pretty much know every player that we are talking to. So I've seen them for a long time and heard things, good and bad things about them. So
mm.
it's always harder with maybe the North Americans that come from college that you never really met or heard of so much. I would say they're the hardest ones.
Okay, so we actually have some sort of input of or inflow of American hockey players in the female league.
Yes, I
Wow.
mean there's a lot of imports in our league.
Mm,
We only have our goalies from Canada, but I've had it for many years.
mm,
But yeah, I would say North Americans is a tough one because it's so different their game, the way they play and the smaller rink and
mm.
how they will fit into like our system.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But when you recruit players and so on, does the club have some sort of a framework or an idea that you need to comply to and recruit based on the club's idea of how hockey should be played, or are you free, or how does it work?
I'm very free of deciding who I want. The club really stands for wanting Swedes and players from the region, and the players that actually would follow the values that we
Mm,
have. So it's called a Frölunda character. Like what do we think would fit in this club
okay.
and the way we play?
Yeah.
But other than that, I have free hands.
Yeah, yeah. But in practice, how do you go about doing recruitment, for example? Do you dive into technical, I mean, digital platforms, or are you on the phone all the time, or emailing, or how does it work? Tell us a bit here.
Normally, we for to begin with, we like having the same team for a long time, so we can
Okay.
build a team and then we switch or change a couple of players at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't want to make a big change. So when we recruit, we're trying to think what do we want on that spot, that the one that we want to change, what do we want to bring in that makes the team complete. But other than that, we use a platform called Sports Contract, where I can see all the leagues in the entire world.
Okay.
So we watch that. But a lot of times we are mostly interested in the players that are already in the league,
Mm-hmm.
because then we know how do they do in this league, and
Yeah.
we can be more certain of they're good in this league, then they should be good in our team as well. And we get to
Okay.
know them. We can watch them more closely.
Mm-hmm.
Watching video is pretty hard because it's sometimes hard to see exactly everything they do all the time because you have to follow the camera.
Yeah.
So you can't see maybe everything they do on the ice all the time. So we
Mm-hmm.
prefer taking players from the league that we have followed for a long time to actually know who they are.
Okay, but are you, I mean, diving into statistics, or is it more behavior on the ice and decision making and attitude and what?
Yeah, I would say more what we actually see. I think
Okay,
statistics is it's always good to look at the plus minus. Have they scored a lot?
mm,
Have they But I think statistics can also be tricky because sometimes you can have a not a great player, but they have pretty good statistics. So
Yeah.
we watch more closely of how they play and how the attitude on the ice, and do they work hard? Do they follow what the coaches have for a game plan, and are they
Okay.
coachable and stuff like that? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But do you also look into like a physical status, or does that come later on in the recruitment process, the physio dimension?
It comes pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
We are a team that want to work hard and we want to play fast hockey. So you need players that are good skaters and can have the fitness to
Mm.
play fast. So we dive into that pretty quick, and knowing their physical status with
Yeah.
testing and stuff like that. So that's yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But how do you know about the physical status? Does that?
We contact the players. If we're
Okay.
interested, either the agent or the player, we ask
Yeah.
them, or if they have injuries or have they any problems with injuries. And yeah, so then we normally ask for their testing.
Yeah, okay. So you get the data from them basically.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Are there any digital solutions that you would like to have but you don't have? Like, what would you like to see in the future here to help you in your work?
I think it's actually pretty good how it is.
Mm,
There's some players that are harder to find. So there's some players that you don't get the data if they have played in a lower division or they played in a country that we don't have as many games of.
okay. Mm,
I would say that's kind of maybe the only problem that we have. But other than that, I'm pretty happy. I think every year we're finding solutions on how we should work.
mm,
Um, I know, for example, the men have so they can check like their heart rate and the intensity that they practice. We can
mm-hmm.
only do it on a couple of players,
Okay.
but that could maybe be something in the future to have the status of every player every single practice.
Yeah.
So how is the practice? Like, can we do other drills that
Mm.
have more intensity and to actually get what we want in the game?
Yeah. But do you need that data, or is it more like hockey is developing in that direction, so that data will in the future be a natural part of all
I
information
think
you got?
Yeah, I think both.
Yeah.
I think yeah, we are very interested in seeing because sometimes we can feel like the practice is intense and the players are working hard and we get what we want from the practice,
Mm.
but do we actually, or is it just a
Okay.
feeling?
Okay. Yeah. Good point.
So we would also like that on to see, are we doing the right thing?
Mm.
Do we have the right drills? Do we do what we want with the setup of the practice? Is that good enough, or can we get more?
Yeah. 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 That interesting. Yeah, it will be an interesting development. But let's zoom out a bit. What are the biggest challenges in being a GM? What is it all about, this job?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is to find the right players, so we get a winning
Mm.
team that get results and development. I mean, I would say every senior team want to win, or every probably athlete out there want to
Mm.
win. But we also want to do it in the right way. We want Swedish players. We want to develop players. So we don't just want to buy players to have
Mm.
a good team. But it's also like with you get a connection with the players, and then sometimes you don't offer them a contract. So I mean, that's the tough part, that you kind of have to say no, and you decide to take someone else instead. So
Mm.
it's always you making decisions all the time, and is it the right decision? And you
Yeah.
never know until they come and play. But
Yeah.
we always talk in the coaching staff, so it's not like I'm by myself deciding players, but it is tricky to find the perfect match for the team.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. So when you have had a game, do you instantly look at the video and do some sort of video analysis and talk about video analysis with the coaches, or or what's your role after a game?
Yeah, I mean, I always watch the game one more time. We grade our players. It's mostly to see how are they during a whole season. It not necessarily have to know what grade they have in a certain game, but
Okay,
it's also comparing because the players put a grade on themselves as well. So it's more comparing what they think about themselves and what we think. But most of the video the coaches are doing, I mostly get the feeling when I'm actually watching the game, but then I can always go back and look one more time. But the coaches are doing more the analyzing and taking clips from the next game or talking to the players and stuff like that. And I'm more overall
Okay.
looking.
Yeah, cool. And it feels like the female hockey league has a very positive trend right now, lots of attention and so on. What do you envision will happen during the next couple of years when it comes to the female hockey?
We're hoping in Frölunda that more players will be more professional. They can actually put more hours into working out or recovering or getting the whole like lifestyle as a pro hockey player. I think it's more and more every year that can actually live off hockey and focus on hockey. So I think I would say that's the next step. But what we talk mostly in the league is the audience to get
Audience, yeah.
more fans. How can we create a more fan base? But that's not really my job. But I know
Okay.
the club and the league is talking about it. So I'm more focusing on the actual game. But
Yeah. But still,
yeah,
it's important for you, the fan engagement
yeah. I
aspect
mean,
and audience. Yeah.
a lot of us coaches and players have to go to certain events sometimes to try to that the fans see us and we can talk to them and build a relationship. So it is a part of our job, but it's not us coming up with the ideas and stuff like that. But yeah, we have to do that kind of stuff too.
Yeah. But also, I mean, as a GM, you can't do everything. I mean, it seems like you have many things on your plate. So yeah. Okay. I mean, it sounds like a fantastic role you have, and I really wish you good luck and the team good luck in the future. And we'll follow the development. So thank you so much, Kim, for taking the time and sharing your experience and insights here. Thank you.
Thank you.